Guys, it is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. NATO nation scrambles fighter jets as Russian missiles rain down on Ukraine. Now, Foogle fam have actually weighed in on this. There are some folks here that recently moved last year from Ukraine in the Foogle fam, and they said it is so much worse than what they say. As far as on their side, they know plenty of people that got called up, put in, and basically were put to the wood chipper. And it is not going well. And of course, Western media for a while now has been somewhat telling us that it's not going well, but it's really not going well. Talked to several people over the last year, and as far as Ukrainians and people with family there, and they say that the stories that they were feeding us for about a year and a half, that they were being triumphant and holding the line, that it was basically just really inflated BS. They have not done well, and the only times they have done well is when we've sent them billions of dollars worth of gear, and then that gear was then destroyed. They would have momentarily kind of these great moments, and then it would all get shoved back down again. Meanwhile, the people that have lived there have gone through multiple grid down scenarios. They've gone through multiple disasters. It's pretty bad. But again, this is all because there is some bigger agenda. Even the people there believe that there's something going on beyond this, and they don't feel like they're being told the truth either. Poland, though, scrambled fighter jets to protect its airspace on Friday as UKR was hit with a barrage of Russian missiles and drones. The Polish Air Force said in a statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, that the jets were launched amid intense long-range aviation activity and missile strikes from Russia on UKR territory. It says just days earlier on March 24th, a Russian cruise missile fired at western UKR entered NATO member Poland's airspace, Warsaw's military set. If you remember, they actually said that it entered for about 39 seconds, and that's why they have now, as of last night or yesterday, they debated, maybe 2 days ago, they debated what they would do and if they would shoot down a Russian missile. It says all necessary procedures aimed at ensuring the safety of Polish airspace have been activated, and the operational command of the Polish Air Force is monitoring the situation continuously, the Polish Air Force post on X said on Friday. Please note that Polish and Allied aircraft operate in Polish airspace, which may result in increased noise levels, especially in southeastern part of the country. So they're literally telling you, hey, you're going to see a bunch of jets right above you, and don't worry if there's huge sonic booms. It's just us. So we're going to talk about this and much, much more that's going on in the last 24 hours. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? And remember to subscribe. It's been messing with people a lot. If you don't select that bell with all notifications, that's like basically your agreement with the platform saying, hey, I want to see absolutely everything from this creator. Otherwise, they pick for you. And I know that most of you are in the mind that you want to pick your own content and what you want to watch, not what somebody is telling you to watch. Now, they're always going to give you algorithm suggestions anyways. That's guaranteed. guaranteed. But if you want to see the stuff that you have chosen to subscribe to, then make sure to press not only subscribe, but that notification bell. Thank you, everybody, for being here. As always, we have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today over on our website, marfooglenews.com. It is put together for every single show, so you have the sources for what we are talking about. That way, if you say, oh, that didn't happen, you can go and check for yourself. Which, mind you, this kind of reminds me of a side note. I just saw a post over on X. Mainstream media, at least 2 or 3 different articles, which Elon commented on. Somebody posted that they are saying how doing your own research, they put doing your own research in quotes, is leading to people believing conspiracies, right? And I just thought that this is absolute insanity. Again, I'll show you that here in a bit, but they are basically telling you, yeah, don't do your own research. And of course, nowadays, we joke about doing your own research is, I did my research, which was I watched someone else's YouTube video. But again, there are a lot of people that actually do a lot of research on this stuff. And they are basically telling you that's how you believe the BS. You don't just follow the 4 or 5 channels that they want you to. So now they're telling you that you're crazy if you start doing your own research. It's pretty nuts. This is the place we're at right now, and it's really bad. So let's bring in my co-slash internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Did I get a chance to send you that, the post, or did you see it on my Twitter? I
just started to pull it up a second ago, but I haven't seen it.
Isn't that just nuts? I mean, like, that's almost the definition of insanity. I'll just show you real quick since it's right here. Yeah, look at this. Yeah. The rabbit hole commented, state propaganda, when supported by the educated classes and when no deviation is permitted from it, can have a big effect. Noam Chomsky. And then it says, look at this. Doing your own research is a good way to end up being wrong. You are kidding me. Motherboard. At least 4. Washington Post, Forbes, Motherboard. And here's how you know that it's all coordinated. When they all come out at the same time. I mean, are you kidding me? Why doing your own research may make you believe fake news. People are really stupid. The really stupid ones read that and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't do my own research. I guess who reads that and then says, you know what? I'm going to stop researching. This is dangerous. What do you think?
That was my first question when I just pulled this up a minute ago, is what are the dates on all these? Were they all the same date? I can't tell because it only looks like one has a date on it, but yeah. If they were all the same date, then you know they're pushing a narrative.
I think they're all within about 3.5 months. So one was in December of 2023. So their messaging is that yeah, if you go and do your own research, then you're going to be looked at weird. And that's what they're saying. If you feel like your peers, if you say I did my own research or I researched it, now that's going to be labeled. Now people are making fun of it. Now they're making memes like I did my own research. So I don't know. It's getting really bad. By the way, thank you everybody. John, Uncle Iro, Shastina, Space Monkey, Viv B, Carol, and everybody else that made it today. NPC believe this BS. Yeah, exactly. I believe. I don't research. I guess who did they think that was going to work? Like they must have sat at a table and go, we've got too many people doing their own research. What do we do? Let's make it so it's unpopular. So they're labeled if they do. And then of course, Dex, do you want to go over? Of course, the Polish Prime Minister warns we are in a pre-war era.
Wow. So just like, basically because of this barrage that's been happening, but more so because it's getting closer and closer to the border there, it's inching in and in some cases going across. And that's the big deal. But the Prime Minister of Poland has said to Europe in specific quote, he goes, we are in a pre-war era. And he's speaking specifically about the bombardments that are happening. I think they deployed something like 99 missiles and drones across different regions throughout UKR. This is maybe like the fifth time in a row over the last 7 or 8 days. I mean, they've been striking very heavily ever since that event that happened last Friday. I think they had actually started that day, and they've been hitting them really hard. And so much so that we had as you said earlier, we had the scramble, not just once, but not just twice. They've scrambled multiple times now over these missiles coming in, specifically because one of them actually went over Poland's airspace, which shouldn't be allowed, which then in turn has got the UN talking, should we shoot them down? Which, would create a different set of problems and challenges. So now we have to figure out what's going to happen. What are they going to do? How are they going to react? But at the same time, it doesn't feel like, at least hearing these words, now this could just be rhetoric, but even what we're reporting and what we've reported over the last month or two, it doesn't feel like it's the same thing that we've had for the last year and a half or more with the conflict in UKR. It seems like things are moving and shifting and edging closer. At least that's the perception I have when I'm watching this, because I see, the fact that, this is happening. We've seen a lot of attacks on the grids. We've seen attacks near the NATO countries, and we've seen movement of troops up against NATO countries. So all of those things that are setting up are certainly signs, and it's not like everything was, say, a year ago, where it was nothing but, Russia sort of pushing down into the eastern side of Ukraine, down from the north, and they were coming up from the sea, and it was just all about UKR. Now we've got missiles flying over Poland and stuff. So, and even last night, I think people were talking about what may or may not be happening in Moldova, which we'll give you an update on that later in the show.
Thank you, S. True says, love you guys. And Carol says, love to all. Carol, thank you for your support. Thank you, S. True. I thank you as well. Thank you guys for supporting Independent early in the show. Appreciate that. Ross the Bear and everybody else. Chat is going too fast. I'm lost. Bobby Sue. It's actually on slow mode. I know. That's why I have a hard time. I'll read the first part and then it's gone. Happy Good Friday to you all. Thank you, Adam, Dex, and Mods, for all that you do. I forgot in my intro to say Happy Good Friday, and a Happy Easter, everybody. I hope everybody is going to enjoy their Easter with family, or if they aren't, I hope you do something fun. And Jeff 7, thank you for being here. We've got Patrick Bellamar, Tina Jarvis, and RRRBS29. Yeah, there are a couple thousand people usually. Usually there's about 2,000 or more. So yeah, it goes pretty fast, and I guess we're blessed for that. We put it on super slow mode, and people get mad because it's like then you can only comment every minute. Mind you, here's my prediction. I think that what we are waiting for this year is a big event, bigger than the bridge, bigger than a pipeline. I think we're waiting for a big event that's going to get us kicked off into a full-on conflict before they select who is prez. There's also an option where we actually get to selection day, something else wild happens, but I think it will be before that. I think that there's going to be something. I know that one of the main things is nobody likes changing a president when you are at war. So I think that something is going to happen. I think it's going to be a big event that all of a sudden makes global news. It's going to be like a Pearl Harbor type event, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but that's what I think is going to happen, and it will get us involved and fully kicked off. But again, I hope that I am wrong, but looking at the patterns of what is going on, everybody keeps saying we're close, and of course they could make it look like it is close, but this is on a global scale now, and it is every single country is preparing. So I don't think they can go backwards from where they are right now. I think they can go forwards, and I think people are afraid of it going forwards, but it's not going to be the end times people think it is, at least not for this. If you think that the war is going to be, nuclear end times, I don't think it is. I think it will be a conventional conflict because they can't go to that next level. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, go ahead.
The rhetoric around comparing things to World War II continues. We've heard it from the Pacific side when they said China hasn't, we haven't seen ramp ups this big since World War II. Well, even here with the Polish Prime Minister, they're saying like we have not had a situation like this since 1945, right? Everybody is drawing the correlation to, and the rhetoric to, this is all about, the next great war, the next great conflict, equating it to what happened in World War II.
And because so many people are indecisive, and you don't have to be indecisive. And I'm not saying anybody that does not believe it's going to be a war is indecisive, but I do believe there's a lot of people that are indecisive, that they're very, I guess what would another word to they're very critical of what all of the news is saying, and they think it's just a scare tactic. But what would that scare tactic lead us into? They need a big event if they really want to change things drastically. And if they are doing what they are saying they are going to do by 2030, then in the next few years, things have to change drastically. Wars take years, especially conventional wars. And if at the end they have something else planned for when the sun rises again, then it's going to be something drastic, and it's going to be something sooner. And it's going to be something that's finished by the time that they want everything to be changed. They may have picked a different country to be the number one next. And a lot of folks are really in a debate with themselves whether all of this is true or not. But I would say prep either way. If you are prepped, I was just watching Alaska Prepper, and Alaska Prepper was responding to something. I think somebody essentially said people were giving him crap because he was saying to get prepped about something that just happened in the last couple days. And actually, I think it was his audience members that were sticking up for him and saying, well, if you think that it is crazy to prep when there's big things happening like this, they said the exact same thing I've said in the past, which is you prep for everything else. You get car insurance, not because you know you're going to get in a car accident. You do it because you think you may. You don't get coverage on your phone because you think you might drop it. You will drop your phone. You'll think because you could. A lot of the things that we protect ourselves against are things that are probable, not guaranteed. But again, this is like if all of these signs are lining up the way that they have been for years, how could it not end up in something not great? That's what I think. But what do you guys think? Let me know. I would love to hear your comments in the chat. And, of course, comment down below if you're watching the replay. By the way, thank you to all the replay watchers. Thank you guys for drinking your coffee and watching our show. Hundreds of millions would die in the first 72 minutes of a nuclear war, expert warns. Hundreds of millions would perish in just the first 72 minutes. Now, this is an angle going down the opposite route. Say it did go as bad as it possibly could. An expert has issued a stark warning about the threat of a nuclear conflict, claiming that no matter how it starts, it ends with everyone perished. Now, this is exactly why I don't think that this would happen. I think that they would want to take the United States in one piece. I do not think that they would actually do all of this. I think that there is too much money and too much resources all over the place, and they wouldn't do this. This is why it won't go nuclear. Even if we go nuclear, it would be a tactical nuke here or there. It wouldn't be a full-on nuclear war. It says Annie Jacobson, who has authored several best-selling books on America's military, including studies of top-secret research at Lab DARPA and infamous Area 51, says in the event of Russian or Chinese missile launch being detected, the U.S. president would just have 6 minutes to make a crucial decision. What this also talks about is previous instances where they have actually come close and they have accidentally almost basically taken us all out several times that the public has not known about. It says, do they retaliate, leading inevitably to the perishing of almost the entire world population, or allow one of America's cities to be wiped off the map? These are the questions that they are asked. She told podcast Lex Friedman that the current U.S. doctrine of launch on warning means that retaliation would take place before there was time to ask questions about why the initial alert had been triggered. Now, by the way, if you watch the original interview, she's not about this. If you read this from like the Washington Post or something, you would think, oh, this is totally like fear mongering and trying to scare the crap out of us. But she actually has a great point in this, that this has actually happened several times and that it was mostly errors or erroneously. It was by mistake. It says we are one misunderstanding, one miscalculation away from nuclear Armageddon, and no matter how nuclear war starts, it ends with everyone perished. The U.S. Defense Department has an early warning system, and the system in space is called SBIRS, a constellation of satellite that's keeping an eye on all of America's enemies. So the moment an ICBM launches, they see the hot rocket exhaust on the ICBM a fraction of a second after it launches. And so there begins a horrifying policy called launch on warning, and that's the U.S.'s counterattack. The reason that the United States is so ferociously watching for a nuclear launch somewhere around the globe is so that nuclear command and control system in the U.S. can move into action immediately to make a counterstrike. That policy, launch on warning, it's not launch on hit, is exactly like it says. It means the United States will not wait to absorb a nuclear attack. It will launch nuclear weapons in response before the bomb actually hits. Now, this is the main reason why you really don't see any of them launched, because they know the second that thing launches, their planet, their country is also wiped off the map. It is a suicide pact. It is something that they just don't want to do. In more than one occasion in the past, the order has been given for Russian or American forces to launch a nuclear strike, only for it later to emerge that command was issued in air. We may not be so lucky next time. And he adds that at least one former U.S. president has expressed doubts that it's rational to unleash Armageddon based on a blip on a radar screen. The best sort of hitting the nail on the head statement is President Reagan's memoirs. It says he refers to the 6-minute window and calls it irrational. He says, how can anyone make a decision to launch nuclear weapons based on a blip on a radar scope? It says she points out that unlike what we see in the movies, a nuclear missile cannot be recalled or diverted once the launch button is pushed, something President Reagan himself didn't know. The effects of a nuclear explosion are still not widely understood, she says, and the resulting mushroom cloud would pull in people miles around and hurl them into the sky as they burned to perish. It says with the horror being repeated in cities across the world. This is why I don't think it would happen. I mean, I really don't think any of the leaders, even Kim Jong, are crazy enough to do this. But this is the question. This is why people prep for this kind of stuff. Again, I don't think that this would happen. That's why I think that they are beefing up their conventional weaponry. That's why they're making the FOABs and the MOABs. Russia is working on the largest explosives that they have. We just covered this a couple weeks ago. All of a sudden, they've put into production 15 and 30-ton bombs, these big bombs. They're the biggest conventional bombs I think Russia has ever made, and they are for not only getting down deep into bunkers, but they are also for wiping out big spaces without nuclear. So, and they said that this is for UKR. I don't think so. UKR is already handled. We said you could totally take out the name that was put into the article about that and insert NATO, that they are making it for NATO. NATO is now, of course, right on the precipice of all of this, and people really still won't believe it. Our military group, though, totally different opinion of this. They do believe that this is about to go down, and they think that Europe first and then America, and that America might actually have a cyber attack before Europe. A cyber attack in the U.S., then a physical attack in Europe, and then physical attack from inside the United States. So what they're threatening and what the threats are is that there would be nationwide events before this next selection process. So yeah, there's a lot of craziness being said, but that's why we're preppers. That's why we prep for anything and everything. But yeah, they talk about how many we have, and remember, we've covered all of the different countries that are now. China is said to catch up to the United States by 2029 now. The United States has 1,770 nuclear weapons deployed, meaning those weapons could launch in as little as 60 seconds and up to a couple minutes. Some of them on bombers might take an hour or so. Russia has 1,674 deployed nuclear weapons. Same scenario. Their weapon systems are on a par with ours, and that's not to mention the 12,500 nuclear weapons amongst the other 9 nuclear-armed nations. When the weapons detonate, 300-mile-per-hour winds would cause carnage, she says. You're talking about people miles out getting sucked up into that stem, and when you see the mushroom cloud, that would be people. So it is a very freaky thing, and what's crazy is the AI picture they used for a stock photo here. What does that look like? That totally looks like 2001, doesn't it? That's kind of odd that it made those lines on it just like the 2001 building. Probably because it was trained using, images, and probably there's a bunch of those out there. She says that interviewed dozens of major political and military figures about the concept of nuclear deterrence, and they all agreed on one detail. Every source I interviewed for this book, from former secretaries of defense, nuclear subforce commanders, STRATCOM commanders, FEMA directors, nuclear weapons engineers, they all shared with me the common denominator that nuclear war was insane. So they also go into how first millions, then tens of millions, then hundreds of millions of people would perish in the first 72 minutes. So this is why this might be scary, but this is exactly why I do not think it would happen. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that do not think that this would happen either. If you compare this to what would happen with a cyber event or a power grid down or a small tactical nuke put off in the middle of Kansas, you knock down our entire grid, 90% of our country perishes within the first year. Again, that's just with one nuke, and everything is still intact. Which do you think that they're going to pick? Do you think they're going to pick having both their country in the same position and everybody is wiped out, every major city across the planet is going to be wiped out? Or do you think that they are going to take a possible EMP or a strike back, as far as that goes, and EMP us? This is why we've been warning about EMP. This might be as terrifying as it all gets, but this isn't the option. I don't think anybody's going to sit at a table and do this. And even if they do, I think there's going to be 5 others going, no, let's not. This is definitely basically, it's offing the whole world, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. It was used as a fear tactic, but it's really about a poker game. Like, are they really going to use it? They might use a small tactical here and there, but I don't think they would use the whole thing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And this is why we've recommended EMP Shield. When you compare these two scenarios, this is why we've been telling people you should get yourself prepped for it. Go over and check out EMP Shield. This is, again, another way to protect your cars and trucks, your house, and everything else that you want to keep protected. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. As far as how scary that scenario is, it's very unrealistic. What is realistic, though, is an EMP or an inevitable Carrington-level event. It's something that can be prevented. It's actually something no one should be afraid of, especially if the government mandated this on all new houses and all new cars. This wouldn't even be an issue. So it's very stupid it's not. We are extremely vulnerable to this, and it is the most likely option. All of our adversaries have it. Not only do they all have it, some of them, even Kim Jong-un, has 2 satellites about once a day that go over us, right over Kansas, and they are placed there on purpose. So a lot of our adversaries can do this, and they can do it well. So again, make sure to go check this out. It is a good way to protect yourself, and again, hopefully you recommend it to friends and family too. The more people that have it, the less we will be at risk. If everyone had it, if they mandated this in houses, it was just like up to code, you have to have proper roofing. You also have to have EMP protection. If you built a new car, you built this right in. I can't believe how many stupid things they put on new cars automatically, like etched windows and other things to sell you for $800 when they could put for a couple $100 an EMP shield. It's pretty stupid. But yeah, you can protect yourself. You don't have to be out in the open like that. Dex, go ahead.
You know, it's funny. We are sort of catching up. The North American Electrical Code, NEMC or whatever it's called, I think last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, actually updated saying all new builds had to have surge suppression built into the homes. So that's sort of in the right direction. The only problem with whole home surge protections is they're not fast enough to actually protect against an EMP. So that's, but we are headed in the right direction with that code change. They just didn't require the speed that is needed for EMP.
Which, if you think about that, that will be good for lightning strikes and things like that. They should have already
not direct ones, only distant ones.
Oh, so
that's why the EMP shield will actually work on a direct hit lightning strike on your house, and they give you a $25,000 insurance policy against it.
Yeah. See, and I think it's like, why don't things like that? I just don't understand. But then they make sure that, you know, you've got the proper bracket on your plumbing. It's pretty ludicrous.
It's baby steps. It's how the government is, right?
Yeah, well, we don't fix anything until it's broken. It's really dumb.
Exactly. It's never in time.
Japan writes an empty check or a blank check for their great grandkids if it benefits them. They will sign things into law, and they'll do changes to their actual infrastructure that they will not benefit from in this lifetime. They do it all the time. They've done it for decades and decades. There's plenty of things that they did in the 80s that they knew wouldn't benefit people until the 2100s. It's like, why can't we be more like them? Well, it's about money. And then Dex, do you want to go over UN? After veto, Russia says big powers need to stop strangling North Korea.
So, Russia is taking care of their pal there. The love fest between Kim and Putin continues on. So they were trying to renew the sanctions against North Korea over its nuclear weapons, and Russia stepped in and vetoed the annual renewal, using their veto power. And they're basically saying, you guys are strangling them. You need to stop strangling them and let them, be more prosperous. I'm adding that word. He didn't say prosperous. He did say strangle. But the point is, Russia is standing up and holding up North Korea, and it's obvious why, because of the arms sales, because of the partnering that's going on right now, and it's also very likely, as we keep predicting, and the writing is on the wall, that he is going to be some sort of use to either China, Russia, or both of them combined in the conflicts that are coming. And I easily see him creating a distraction in the north of the Pacific, while there's a distraction in the South Pacific by the South China Sea with the Philippines. And that makes an ideal opportunity for China to take Taiwan. And we also can see Kim being used for many other things as he continues to do everything, from even getting hypersonics. Where did he get that from? He didn't make those. He got them from Putin. We know that. I mean, you got to be blind not to see that logic. He sold them 6,700 containers with the weapons, and a month later he's testing his own hypersonics.
Which Russia was the ones who said they had them first, right? And most people believe Kim Jong-un is the puppet. And even if Kim Jong-un does not know he's the puppet, he is. Like, I wonder if he's that guy that they hang out with, like him, Xi, and Putin hang out, and like he's the dumb one that they all pick on, and he's like, yeah, and he just kind of nods with them, like, yeah, haha, funny, yeah, I get it. I wonder if that's how it goes down. By the way, someone suggested that there's a lot of different views on what would happen if there was a calamity. I would love to actually go over to chat. I'll put it up on screen. So EMP, black hole, nuclear Armageddon, rapture. How do you think it would end first? And by the way,
Can we have zombies too?
Anything, add in anything. Put in the chat what you think would be our next big disaster, and I mean nationwide or global disaster. Put that in the chat right now, and we'll see where everybody's at. And I'm sure we're going to get a whole lot of different views on this because, frankly, it's something that everybody has their own kind of views on. So just put what you think the next calamity will be, global, and we're not talking about just something going off next to you. Food, Dan says food. Grid down. Hurricane season is coming up. Yeah, but that would be more regional unless we have something like that one movie where they have a satellite that causes a geo conflict. The new Demon V. Well, and that's another thing too. The pathogens and things like that. Stirred waters. The Deceived. Well, that's already here. CERN and Yellowstone. Yeah, nobody really talks about Yellowstone. Ziggy Zay says gonorrhea. We just covered yesterday. There's a super gonorrhea. It's no joke. The big deal about that is it's antibiotic resistant. And Tea Attack, Smoking Swamp Outdoors. Yeah, and I think you actually, I think I'm kind of agreeing with you, but what will that be, right? And I think who is behind it? That's going to be the big question after something like that happens. 500 billion ants enslaving the human race. We've got to have a sense of humor here. Have you seen the zoom in picture the guy took macro of a ant head? If those things somehow had nuclear radiation and grew, I would be terrified of ants. Verizano, I have to look that one up. Ender's Game, conventional wars, massive worldwide earthquakes, Gary Hicks. Yeah, there's I would say probably 15% EMP. I would say a lot of folks believe that there's going to be a T attack, a cyber attack. I'm surprised I'm not seeing more people say that. Domino's stops delivering. Water and power grid. Yeah, a lot of power grid. I would say about 30 or 40% of people are saying power grid or something related. Micro solar flare and war on USA ground, Michigan lifestyle. Well, if you were
Did you see any civil conflicts in there?
No. That's actually pretty surprising, isn't it? Gabriel says Apophis. Isn't that weird? Dex, isn't that weird? Nobody says that?
Yeah, I was just thinking as it relates to what Gates told us. Told everyone, I should say, not us.
Well, and by the way, look at, okay, isn't that not a great example? So nobody, and most of the people lean to one direction, I would say. There's both parties in here, but the majority are on one side, and that same side they're saying would cause this kind of event. It's not even on our minds. That says something, right? Nobody's thinking about going after the other side. At least not on our side. Go ahead.
Shastina wants credit. She said it, so she just said
Shastina.
She said it.
Okay.
Shastina. She wants the credit. Let her have it.
You can definitely have that. Which, by the way, I'm actually I don't get excited for too many movies, but I want to see what other messaging is in that civil conflict movie. A24. I think A24 has some very, very thought-provoking movies, and I think they've had a lot of predictive programming specifically by that studio, A24. They did Ex Machina. If you haven't seen that I feel like that will be the truth here in a short amount of time. And then U.S., Japan, Philippines plant joint South China Sea drills. Dex, and did you put that thing I sent you with the graph? Is that the next thing? Oh, okay. So, Dex, do you want to go over this? And I wanted to show this. I tweeted this earlier on Twitter. Make sure to go follow me over there at Marfoogle, and make sure to tag us. Tag at Marfoogle. If you see a crazy story, you can even tag us during shows, or if you see something, let us know. But this was a tweet, and it really puts into perspective what China is doing. And we'll go over the drill that they're doing right now. But if you look at this, the red line is China. Now, China is up here. Vietnam is down here. You've got the Philippines, and you've got Malaysia. Now, by regular laws, you have whatever country, and then however many, like 200 miles out is the ADIZ or whatever it's called outside of that. And if you have your land here, then a portion of that ocean is yours. Well, China's claims, not only there's no China down here, but yet they're claiming all the way down past Vietnam, all the way down, basically claiming Malaysia's land or sea, claiming Philippines Sea, and claiming Vietnam Sea. They're basically saying, we don't care. We're taking this. If you look at the blue line, that's Vietnam. Vietnam actually has a huge chunk of the South China Sea, or they should, and China's just punking them. Just like, nope, this is ours. The Paracel Island is directly in Vietnam's backyard. It is technically part of their sea. Philippines, Spratly Islands, that should be theirs. All of these, these islands in the Thomas Shoal, that's why they're putting these troops there on these beached boats to try to lay claim to it, because China is basically saying we're going to push it as hard as we can. This red line is part of also the map that they put out. Now, it wasn't always official. It was like China would be somewhere and they would be like, nope, we're here, you're not, get out of this area, it's ours. But no one really kind of, they never put out an official map. Well, about a few months ago, they actually put out the map of what they are claiming. And they're claiming chunks of everybody's sea. They're basically saying to all of their neighbors, screw you, this is ours. So it's a big deal. Dex, do you want to talk about the drill that's going on in the South China Sea?
So they're starting, I guess, again, they've done numerous at times, but this one is more specific to patrolling. So they're starting naval patrols. So U.S., Japan, Philippines will launch joint naval patrols in the South China Sea later this year, according to U.S. officials and foreign diplomat familiar with the planning. It's a major move to counter China in the region, and one likely to elicit a strong response from Beijing, which I'm sure we're going to hear. Probably more so, less about the words and the planning, but more so as it happens or when it happens, and the actions that come with it. If these patrols are significant in size, and if they are literally patrols and not just a short-term drill, the patrols would be an ongoing thing. And that is going to probably seek a much different response from China than we typically see when you have, say, drills for a week or drills for a few days, and the rhetoric coming out of Blinken or whoever that's going to say that we're supporting the Philippines and China needs to back off. We'll get the back and forth with that. But when we start patrolling ships on a regular basis with an agreement between Japan, Philippines, and the U.S. doing it throughout the South China Sea, we're going to run into opportunities for conflict. We're going to run into more than once. We're going to see opportunities for those, as we've reported, the water cannon incidences, but they may be more at a higher level than, say, just water cannons. And I think that's what we need to be paying attention to here.
And they're creating sort of an Asian NATO as well. You have Japan, South Korea, and others working together on the sidelines. Now you have, of course, Japan working alongside some of the other neighbors of China's. They're all picking their sides. And then the strip surprise. Hamas has thousands more fighters than Israel initially thought. Analysis. Now, it seems to me like, I don't know if now they are kind of setting us up for them to say, well, yeah, it's just not working out, or do they have to give up, or do they have to go back? Or are they saying this because they're pointing out like, hey, there's way more, we need to deal with this? You kind of relate it back to the comment Netanyahu says. He said back in 1945, you had a quarter of the Germans, the bad ones in Berlin. Would you just let them sit there and go, you know what, we're done? If there were civilians around. Well, they didn't. They went in and got them all, right? Are they kind of saying something like this? 30,000 was always an estimate for how many fighters had. We know now that the number was too low. Following numbers provided by or IDF sources, Israel has taken about 13,000 of them out. So and if this is right, how many people have? So they've only taken out 13 out of a number that was actually way more than that. So they haven't even gotten 1/3 of the bad guys, according to this. It says already back in early February, the IDF wounded another 10,000 to such a degree that it was assessed that they would not be able to return to battle, and had arrested another 2,300. The IDF has not provided updated wounded and arrest numbers since then, but simply adding together a series of public announcements regarding arrests, such as the more than 500 arrested at Shifa Hospital, at least around 3,500 would have been arrested to date. This means that at least 26,000 members have been put out of action to date when adding together the people that they took out, wounded, and arrested totals. It said until Tuesday, Israeli defense sources had said that there were 4 Hamas battalions in Rafah and 2 left in Central Strip, leaving around 6,000 forces. Adding 26 and 6,000 would have broken the 30,000 total and considered close enough to generally accurate. However, on Tuesday, Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer said that 8,000 of its forces in Rafah, adding an additional 4,000 to the 32,000 brings it up to 36,000. So they basically keep going up, and Dex, I wonder what the angle is on this. Like,
it sounds to me almost like the UKR playbook, right? All of a sudden they're out of favor. All of a sudden the U.S. is not doing what they want them to do for them. So they have to. Are they playing this up? Are they making it out to be worse than it is? Are they expanding the numbers? That could be one angle. I'm not trying to throw shade at Israel over this. I just don't know understand the number part of it. And I understand, though, that the relationship right now between the U.S. and Israel is not going real well. Even though we'll talk in a minute about some things that are going in a good direction, but there's some things that aren't, as we've been reporting for the last week.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. So is this part of that? Is it to sort of say, look, it's so bad there, we still have to go in because there's really more there than we think? Is it part of the Ganda?
And Dex, you go into the why. It's like they're saying one thing, they're saying we don't support you, but yet they just do this. What did they just sign off on?
Allegedly, they're signing off now on a new package of booms and warplanes. So the U.S. in recent days has authorized the transfer of billions of dollars worth of bombs and fighter jets to Israel, even as it publicly expresses concerns, and even as it did not veto at it did not use their veto power at the UN Security Council meeting to call for the ceasefire. It could have, but it chose not to. And to throw salt on the wound, the U.S. actually 4 days before that called for their own ceasefire, to which at the UN Security Council, to which Russia and China vetoed it, which was kind of ironic, and I couldn't understand why that happened. But nonetheless, yeah, the U.S. has been acting one way, but now here we have evidence that they're doing something totally different. They're sending billions of dollars.
Do you remember what I said, that it was for public, because the public and a lot of the youth and the people that might go out in November, it's like they're on one side of this, and they're all on TikTok, and everybody's got their view from their tons of research, and they're basically saying, oh yeah, well what they're doing is over the top. Meanwhile, they're totally okay with signing off and sending them more weapons to do it.
Well, given the protests at the powwow between Obama and Hillary and JB that they just had the other night, it makes you think that they're not buying the story, right?
Yeah, so something just doesn't sit right. No matter who you support in this, people should be recognizing that something isn't right. Like something just doesn't sit right with this whole scenario. Whatever's going on here, there's obviously secret, closed doors meetings where different things are being said than what is being put out, and the actions don't really match the words. So Yemen, an airstrip was being built on Yemeni Island during the ongoing conflict, with I Love UAE next to it. Dex, I'll have you go over this too. I was very confused by this one. Do we have the picture, by the way? I don't know if we got
no,
the
I don't
picture.
think it loaded. We have to go look at the original if you want to see it.
Yeah.
That is the island. And strategically, where this island sits in the water, it's a strategic location. So when you're looking at the map, just keep that in mind. You think about all the shipping that's coming through, and if you were to zoom out a little, you could see the whole Gulf there. But that's a key part of that channel. All the ships coming through, they're attacking from the mainland above, but having this island where that blue dot is, that is another location. That's where they're putting these airstrips. So the story goes, there's an airstrip that's now shown up on satellite images, a couple of strips that have been created. It can actually land decent-sized planes on it. But in the dirt that has been moved, or maybe sand, but the dirt as they refer to it, piles of dirt, it is written, I love UAE. And the reference everybody thinks means United Arab Emirates, given that's their initials. So no country has actually claimed the construction of it. But the location is perfect for attacks. It's perfect for bringing in equipment. And it also appears like the next phase is going to be paving potentially and getting the paving down for those runways. So if this is happening, it seems like things are moving fast to expand their capabilities in the waterways there, which again is just going to increase the challenges that the shipping industry is facing going through there. I mean, there's so many shippers that are not going through the Suez Canal anymore, and it's starting to back up and starting to create, a big problem. And it's funny, they went and struck a deal with China and Russia and said, hey, we won't attack your ships. We promise we won't. But then they screwed up and did. Like 3 days later, they shot at missiles at a Chinese flagged ship. But yeah, it's not good if they continue to build this out. Now, I couldn't find in these pictures, Adam, where it actually says I love UAE. Maybe you can see it. I just missed it with my eyes. I could not find it. But
I saw it on Twitter, so I'm not seeing where they show it. I'm looking at all three. It's much smaller. The one that I saw was really super low quality because it was zoomed in heavily. But why would they put 3 of these pictures up without having the one with it in it? At first, it kind of looked like that, but no, that's not it either.
Yeah, I mean, whether UAE is paying for it or not, I'm less concerned about the funding of it because there's lots of funding channeling from all the countries around there in different ways. You never really know. I'm more concerned with the fact that it's actually being built and its expansion, and that expansion and creation of capabilities there is just going to make things worse. It's not going to make things better.
Some bored soldiers, right? Yeah. Well, watch the. Yeah, I'm glad it doesn't say like I love China, because if they start building more island airfields, then that would be kind of freaky. Before we move on, if you again, we added this about a month ago. Jace Medical is one of our newer affiliates. It is actually due to request. A lot of folks, when the pharmacy hack happened, a lot of people were really, really kind of freaking out that they couldn't go to the pharmacy and get their regular medications. And it really put the fire to people's feet about how to actually get backup medicines. Now, Jace has board-certified doctors. It's a full-on telehealth site, so you can go through and you can get something like the Jace case, which actually has basically a kit of everything you'd need, or the majority of things you would need, like antibiotics as far as the basic ones. And you can actually add things onto that, like albuterol, like breathers, and azetamazide. I said that totally wrong. And fluconazole and ondansetron. But again, there's a ton of different things you can add on. That is to the Jace case. Now, but the main thing that I think is really important about this website is you can actually get Jace Daily. That is a daily supply, a year supply of your regular medications. So if power went off tomorrow, you would have a year supply. You always get a new shipment, so you can rotate in the oldest medicines into your actual regular medications, and then you'll always have a year backup supply. So it's actually really, really, really cool. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace to learn more, and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only will you save money, but you'll help our independent channel at the same time. Again, that is a good way to get all sorts of great stuff, including things that were really hard to get during a certain period in the last few years. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/Jace. And let's see here. Let's go over. I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go over, check out marfooglenews.com/friends. You have all of our wonderful mods over there. Again, the mods are always trying to help the Foogle fam. They are always answering questions. They are always directing people to other Foogle fam members, to other creators. So they always have a lot of them, almost every single one of them has been at very many shows. They know a lot of what's going on. You can ask them just whatever question you can think of, and they probably have been following the news just as closely as we have. So go over and check them out and subscribe. Especially Wages World is covering all of the solar stuff. And again, we just had another X flare. The solar activity has been off the charts. It's expected. We knew Solar Cycle 25 was going to be crazy, and we're not even at the peak. And then check out Ilea. Ilea's always doing something new and fresh with her channel. She's been sick this week. She just came in last night and let us know, she misses everybody. And then Trinity does all these really intricate edited videos. All sorts of great stuff over on Rip Curl's channel. RGL, Lisa, Jammer, Gem, CJ, Chance. Chance has books on Amazon, so make sure to go check his out. And then Bones, he's actually got a growing and budding TikTok. So go over and check it out if you're over on TikTok. I know a lot of you probably aren't, but again, for those of you that secretly open it up on your phone and scroll, at least go over and scroll and go see Bones. That's why he's been gone. He's been creating himself. So I'm really, really proud that he's doing his own thing. And then let's get on to the next one. We've got Baltimore. Cranes arriving to start removing the wreckage from the deadly Baltimore bridge collapse. Now, one thing I thought, the first thing I thought of was, so by the way, if you didn't know, there's military crane ships, these cargo ships with actual cranes on them. They are specifically for moving military cargo. Those are trapped in that bay. And the first thing I thought when I saw this was, why aren't those helping, right? You've got these big ships that are already there that are a 5-minute row away from it. Why aren't they helping? Maybe they are. I don't know. But Dex, you said that they are actually diving down and cutting piece by piece and pulling it out like that. Sounds like it's going to take a while.
It is a very complex process because of how everything is twisted and laying on top of one another, and plus things that are probably connected to the ship. They've got hazardous material on the ship. I think one of the biggest things that's on there is lithium, because there's a lot of electronics, so it's always full of lithium. They have other hazardous materials on there. Some of it's in the water. They got to deal with the cleanup of that. And some of those containers can continue to fall if they should try to remove wreckage in a way that causes things to start pulling incorrectly. It's a delicate act. And what they did say is that they were doing a lot of underwater cutting right now, like literally chopping off small sections at a time from the top, and in ways that if they cut it, it wouldn't cause everything else to sort of pull or collapse or shift. So it's not an easy process. It is a good thing that they have the crane there. They have one crane there, I think, now that's not as big as another one that's coming. I think there's a big one that's coming soon that'll do like 1,000 tons, or one that does more than that, that's coming, and they expect that in the next few days. But obviously the most critical point at this phase is to get the port open, is to get the debris pulled out, removed, or at least pulled far enough away so they can get the shipping lanes open, and also get the ship that's stuck there out. I also understand that the crew on that ship is still on that ship, because the ship has to be manned, and it's sitting there being managed by them. So they haven't left, unless they have just as of today. But as what I last heard, they're still there. So
that's what I was surprised by, that they were still on the ship. And they've got a full on, it's a cargo ship, so they've got housing there, so they could live there for a year. But I just thought that's crazy.
Well, they have to manage it. Yeah, somebody's got to take care of it, right?
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
And even if it's in disrepair, it's still somebody's got to deal with it, and it doesn't appear to be taking on water or anything bad like that. So, but the biggest issue I think a lot of people were worried about is whether or not there was going to have to be a major cleanup from any of that hazardous material. There were some reports that there was some film on the water, but it didn't seem like it was very large. It wasn't a big thing. It was mostly just some of the stuff in the containers. But we'll watch. We're going to continue to monitor this. Thing could change all the time. But it is obviously the most important thing at their point right now, after they got done with search and rescue, is to try to get the port back open at the tune of $15 million a day, maybe even more. There's major corporations like Domino and the coal company there that have lost tons of money in their valuations because they're no longer producing or refining. There's port workers that are going to get furloughed or laid off or not have work and not get paid. It's a big deal for that economy there, very big deal. And this is not the time to have big deals, because we're already hurting across the board.
And if we were secretly moving stuff around, those military cargo ships, they have cranes on board. Those are trapped in that bay. I don't know if it's called a bay, but they're trapped inside of that area. We showed you that yesterday or the night before. Rob Mills, maybe? I forget which Fugel fam sent that in. And then I've got some catching up to do. Thank you, Domenico Lavaras. His great show. You guys all catch the rest on replay. Gotta go from Australia. Hey, thank you. And Domenico, I hope you do, because there's actually at least 2 more stories that are really important. So try to watch replay if you can. And then for Love of Country One, thank you so much for your support, and happy Good Friday. Thank you. Thank you so much for supporting Independent. And then Viv B, my nightmare, live in a pod, eat bugs, forced to listen to Taylor Swift. Oh, could you imagine that? I like envision something like Hellraiser or something, and they've got the eyes pinned open, and you have to watch it. And no, Taylor Swift and Sam Smith on tour together. There you go, with appearances by what's his face, lap dance on the devil guy, hometown road guy. And then Carol says Grid Down Power Up documentary on YouTube withholds Dennis Quaid. Tucker Carlson just interviewed him recently about this also. I actually watched that. Dex showed me that. I've watched all of the documentaries about that kind of stuff. That was a private gentleman who paid for that and paid Dennis Quaid to do all the narration and stuff. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I actually recommend that too. Grid. I thought we said that 3 or 4 weeks ago. when I watched it, I thought it was great. Grid Down, Power Up. It's free. It's on YouTube. Definitely go watch it. I've actually thought we've tried to get some of the people on there. I would love for them to come on and speak on the show. There's a lot of great information in that, and information that, even though, we've done a lot of research into that area and we've talked to a lot of folks involved with, security in that area, they even surprised that documentary has information that I did not know. So go check that out. And then Carol, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you to both Carol and Carol White. Thank you guys. And Greg Davis, Pearl Harbor 2.0 is definitely on its way. Space weapons and cyber attacks. I think that that's one of the most probable out of all of the crazy things. Another thing I didn't see, though, is they saw a couple CERNs, but I didn't see black hole, right? Even though I even suggested and kind of put it in your mind. If you've seen Three Body Problem, you know what I was surprised by that show? It did not mention making a black hole. Like, they don't mention that CERN's weird. They even show the Shiva, I think it's the Shiva, the weird statue in front of CERN. They show it several times in that show. They show that they work at these these large hadron colliders or whatever, the accelerators, and they don't ever talk about what they actually do. And then also there's a part in that which I am so curious if it is real. If you've seen the show, then you know. In the very first episode, a woman takes her own and jumps in this room and goes off of a deck that's in this room that looks straight up out of X-Men. If you've ever seen X-Men, Dr. Xavier goes into the room where it amplifies his brain activity, and it's this weird catwalk into a weird mirrored room. They show this room that's at the Large Hadron Collider, and it apparently is this giant room, and then it has water in the bottom. What is that? And they mentioned it in the show like it's a real thing. If that's real, that's mind-blowing. There's structures like that humans have made, and nobody even knows it exists. That's the weirdest part about that. And what CERN is doing. CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, it goes across multiple countries. It actually is on both borders of I think three, maybe even three. But it's so massive and so big. And we actually covered that they got matter to 99% of light speed. So a lot of the stuff they talk about in that show is technically currently scientifically kind of current. It's weird. It almost makes you think, is that why everybody's going to Mars? Why we're trying to get to the moon, and why they've set up Space Force? And you know what I mean? It doesn't. Did anybody question, wait, is this real or something? And I know that sounds crazy, but if you think about what Elon is doing with Neuralink and all of that stuff, and saying in the future we'll be able to download your brain, it's spooky. It's freaking spooky. That sounds crazy, does it not? But look at where they say our science is right now. And then border taught to squat arrested. So, by the way, Dex, you actually typed in what I said. You put that in there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I was like, they did
I thought it was funny.
They didn't have the. I'm glad they didn't actually name an article that. But it's the taught to squat guy, and he got arrested. The taught to squat got caught. Let me pull this up. You'll get what I mean. So this guy, you may remember, we showed you a video of him essentially telling other people coming over how to squat, and said basically, hey, there's this rule in America, is if there's an abandoned home, you can go in and take that home for yourself, and basically gives all the directions on how to do it, on how to claim it, and blah, blah, blah. Has also, of course, said all sorts of nasty things about America, about how we get free stuff and this and that. He got caught by ICE. Leonel Moreno, the influencer who mocked America, has been arrested by ICE. Same gentleman that taught you how to squat got caught. Oh my gosh, Elon comments on everything now. Jeez, everything we cover, he now comments. Have you ever wondered why? Like I think he just gave up trying to be neutral. Now he's like full on just doing what he does. And then Moldova does not confirm reports of Russian missiles flying over its territory during attack on UKR. Dex, so this was a pretty big deal because yesterday, this was an update from Fugel Fam. Somebody gave us a tweet yesterday, and essentially, at one moment during yesterday's show, it was thought that maybe they had sirens going off and that missiles were heading into Moldova. But now they're coming out and saying it does not confirm it.
Yeah. And to be fair, it was a Fugel Fam member who told us about the tweet, but it wasn't just a tweet. It was a lot of tweets, and it was being reported everywhere. And it sort of went semi-viral, if you want to call it that, on X, as it related to this notion that there were sirens going off, there were missiles in the area, and then some people were reporting that they had crossed into Moldovan airspace while they then re-entered back into UKR airspace and, struck their targets. So we don't know the real story, and at this point, Moldova has come out and said, you know what, we're not going to acknowledge any of it. We're just going to not confirm any of the reports that they flew over our territory during those attacks last night. So they left it at that. We don't know. There's a lot of conflicting things. Now, what had seemed to be clear was nothing actually hit in Moldova. That was pretty clear last night when the information was coming out. But nobody was really confirming that was happening. There were a few people that thought it had crossed over. But anyway, nonetheless, this is no different than what happened in Poland. I mean, they crossed over into Poland and then struck into UKR. And that didn't just cause alarms, that caused NATO jets to scramble multiple times now. So it's not unlikely that this would happen, or this could happen, or it may happen in the future because of the fact that the proximity and the border that is shared between Moldova and UKR and the targets that Russia is targeting right now in UKR are going to be very similar to what we saw with Poland. So not unlikely that this couldn't be a reality, even if last night it may not have been.
Can I just say it's absolutely creepy that this hawk or this eagle has like human hands? Can you name all the symbolism in this flag here? You've got the Taurus, the sun, the moon, the scepter. I forget what that is called. That's something. And then he's holding the cross. You've got the red and the blue. You've got I swear that the horn's separate when it's separated like that means something. And then even the little markings on the wings, which are feathers, that design even means something. Obviously, all flags have some symbolism, or most of them do, especially the ones with crests. But is there something I'm missing? Can anybody break that down into symbolism? If you can, comment it down below. And we've got New York City's AI chatbot tells businesses to break the law. So there's actually a couple of examples here. This is par for the course. They're coming out with all these AI chatbots. Every company is doing them, and it was giving them bad advice. Like one example was discriminating against people of low income. You guys can go over and see all of the examples. But one of them was, if you're a landlord wondering which tenants you have to accept, for example, you might pose a question like, are buildings required to accept Section 8 vouchers? Or do I have to accept tenants on rental assistance? In testing the markup, the bot said, no, landlords do not need to accept these tenants, except in New York City. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate against source of income. So they were basically this bot was telling them to do the exact opposite of what the law says, right? These are things that obviously they put these things out not knowing that a million different things are being asked. What is crazy is that people are using these chatbots as fact. They're using it like a Google search or something, and they're using it like Quora, right? They're saying, oh, here's the answer. And even that is people's answers to a question. It's not guaranteed to be true. But we've already seen examples where people are actually using this as almost like a gospel. They're asking every question, and if it says it, they go, well, it says it, so that's got to be true. These things pump out absolute BS, especially the early ones. I mean, you had good examples, GBT 3.0, or what was the one before the current one, Dex? Do you remember?
If you're thinking about the time it was talking about us, that was 3.0, I believe.
3.0.
They're on 3.5 and 4.0 right now.
Get this though. We looked up name, and it said, oh, this group has done this, and it gave specific examples. It said the New York Times wrote an article about these guys saying that it was, the path to this, and that. And it was like, wait, what? And we looked and we're like, no, there's no articles of this. And it was completely making up fake sources for things, and even giving citations for things that didn't exist. So things like that, it's like they changed it pretty quickly, and I could see why. People could sue them. Like, you can't just defame people and put crappy stuff on there for no reason. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, and the other instance of this one in New York, I mean, this is a city purchased for a city tool bot for the public. It told people about the cash laws. So people in New York City, the bot appeared clueless about the city's consumer and worker protections. For example, in 2020, the city council passed a law requiring businesses to accept cash to prevent discrimination against unbanked customers. But the bot didn't know anything about the policy when asked, and says, yeah, you can make your restaurant cash free. The bot was telling business owners to do that, which is absolutely false. It was saying there's no regulation in New York City that requires a business to accept cash as a form of payment, which again, there is a law. The law says you can't do that. So numerous examples of these have popped up. So,
which by the way, that will change at some point. They're trying to change that. By the way, here they have businesses that have completely stopped taking cash. There's the Bigfoot Java has completely stopped taking it, and their reasoning is that it's because of a safety issue, because they're there at night and they're open 24/7 or whatever. But they just don't take cash anymore at all. In New York City, that's technically illegal. I don't understand that. Dex, go ahead.
Question for you: where it's cash free at your Java place, do they still have the tip jar on the counter where they accept cash?
No.
They got rid of that too.
I don't know. I've always had to use card at that place.
That's a pet peeve of one of my friends. Whenever we go into a cash only place, it says no cash, and then there's a giant tip jar. They always argue with the owner, like, "What are you doing? You're going to say no cash? Then say no cash."
And then take cash.
Yeah, you're taking cash.
I need the cash for for all the places I go. And by the way, there's movements there too. We will be covering the digital stuff that's going on, digital currency. It's all on its way. So buckle up, as my friend Jacob would say. It's about to be a crazy ride. And let's see here. Thank you again, Domenico. Sissy Jean says, thank you, Adam and Dex, for your time every day. It is so appreciated. And now my whole family are subscribed and love you guys too. Sissy Jean and family, thank you guys. And thank you for sharing us with family. Thank you for believing in us enough to share us with your basically the most important people in your life. So really means a lot. Thank you. Schaefer Girl, thank you. Foogle Fam Mods, Dex, James, Adam, you're the best. Thank you. I appreciate that, Schaefer Girl. And then Sweatinum Ministries says, did you see my comment on Amerigeddon? I'm guessing Armageddon. I maybe not. Happy Resurrection Day, all Sweatinum Ministries. No, Sweatinum, I did not. So, was it on a previous show or was it a super thanks? I'll have to look. if it was on this show, I might have missed it. So feel free to spam it. And mods, if you see Sweatinum post the same thing a couple times, don't worry about it. Let's see here. And then, yeah, I don't see it. So if you can, post it again. I would love to hear about it. All right, and then we have China. Major smartphone Xiaomi unveils its first EV with a range of over 500 miles and an eye-watering acceleration to rival Porsche. So you may have seen Xiaomi. Xiaomi is all over. If you watch any of the tech channels that review phones, if you've seen like that one, the Indian guy who, Mr. Who's the Boss, he does a lot of Xiaomi phones, and he compares them to American phones. A lot of the tech phone creators, the phone review guys, they all review, Xiaomi versus this or the most expensive Xiaomi phone. I love those kind of videos, but it's crazy that just a few years ago, Xiaomi and a few other brands, what was it, the one that got banned? Those were actually Huawei. That was actually on track to surpass both Apple and Samsung combined in their sales, and that's when it got banned. Those phones at the time, you could see this like, I don't know, back then it was like 30 megapixel camera, and you're looking, or say the Apple had a 12 megapixel camera, it had all these features. Well, then you had, and it was $1,200. Xiaomi would have all the same exact features, and of course it's basically a knockoff, only it would be like $200, and it would have almost every feature. It wouldn't be quite the same, but it was $1,000 cheaper. You could see how that would be pacing, especially this is before the economy went to crap. But still, people were like, heck, I get a lot more bang for my buck, and I can buy it straight out instead of taking a left arm off and loaning for 5 years for a phone. But these companies have been extremely successful, even after being banned here and other places. They are blowing up, and now they are building cars. This is what we've talked about, and this is what they're Janet Yellen, Jellen with Magellan, chillin' with Jillen, sellin' with Kellen, Kellenbergers, Ferdinand. That woman who does stuff with money stuff said stuff about this stuff and said some stuff and basically said that they are worried about solar panels and Chinese EVs and everything being dropped on the market to the point where it just completely destroys the complete market of this. And this is our future. This is what they're saying is our future is EVs and electric everything. So it's not good to see that they are on such a huge, fast path to actually doing this. Now, mind you, people in the future, if you're not making barely anything, it's hard to find a single good job. Rent is skyrocketing, and you need transportation to get to work. There's a required electric car, and say the one that's about this good is about $35,000. Cool. Or you can get a Chinese EV with all of the same specs, and that's what people will look at. They don't care that they're supporting the CCP. They'll look at the specs and they'll go, wait, this is $6,000. Even after tariffs and all of this stuff and all the fees, it's $9,000. Are they going to pick the $35,000 car, or are they going to pick the $9,000 car? What do you want to bet that most people, especially if they're struggling, are going to go with the $9,000 car? What's going to happen in this? I don't know, because this is the kind of thing we would go to war over. And they won't say it's because of something like this, but it probably would be about something like this. Yahweh and Xiaomi and all of these companies, China is on a global takeover path. Dex, it's pretty crazy that they're putting these cars out, and they're basically putting them out for dirt cheap too.
I mean, a cell phone company has launched an EV car. Look, in America a month ago, one of the biggest, baddest cell phone companies, Apple, got out of the EV market after spending a decade or more trying to build an electric vehicle. Something's wrong here, folks. Wake up. By the way, Swetnam's Super is in Screener if you want to see it.
Oh, thank you so much. Let's see here.
But
Oh,
yeah, I mean the fact that they're moving this fast and going to be able to topple, in my opinion, the EV market, topple all of this tech space that we've been dominant in is a big warning sign.
okay, I have to look that one up. I think I saw it. Amerigeddon. Yes, and it says it's on YouTube. The U.S. Gov in the movie sends small nuclear boom boom on Americans while working with Putin's and Xi's country. I feel like I've seen that one. It's kind of B movie-ish, but maybe not. Let's see here. Amerigeddon. Let's see. I just have to skip to a little part here. Yes, I have seen this. Yes. It was, and it has the girl at the school that gets picked up by helicopter or whatever. And, see, I think if any, and I don't know if you've seen this one, but Dragon Day, I think that one really had, was bad B movie, or, it didn't have the best, cast or anything, but the plot I actually think is extremely realistic. This one I kind of remember they have like a couple people from AJ or somebody is in it. I swear they have like AJ in this movie or something, or somebody that's, the redhead daughter is actually a now like a columnist for AJ, I think. Yeah, I have seen that one. But yeah, I don't remember much. I'll have to rewatch it though. I didn't remember Xi and Putin being a part of that. And then let's see here. Make sure to go see Dragon Day if you haven't. I think that one's available for free too, but if it's not, I think it's definitely worth a watch just for the idea of what happens in that movie. And then if you haven't already, if you have been looking into solar, then I would highly recommend going over and checking out the Flex Tactical. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Again, this is our recommendation for a solar generator. It has built-in heaters. It has a steel reinforced frame, 1,500-pound latch system. Again, this is also modular and expandable. It actually is water and dust resistant. It's extremely tough. It's built like appliances used to be built. Again, and you can expand it up to 96 batteries. So it can be as big or as small as you want it to be. Not to mention you can mod it with things like the rapid charger, or where you can actually charge the batteries in as little as 40 minutes from the wall. And then that battery holds its power. When your power goes out, you can switch right over to it. Yeah, but it's tough as it can be. It's Army strong, they call it, because this is actually going to be shipping out with the U.S. Army under the STTR Phase 2 contract. So this is the same one that the Army has picked. So if you want that kind of toughness, they don't care about it being frilly or pretty. They just care if it turns on and turns on every time. A lot of the competitors in this space, again, this is something where when we looked for an affiliate, I wanted to make sure that I was picking the right company and that I was making sure that we were picking something that had a really, really solid product. I looked at some of the competitors, and even some of my YouTube friends said, hey, this one's really good. It's affordable and this and that. There's ones that you might be able to get on Monday. But if you look at the company that's representing them, they're a direct front for a 3-letter C, C, and P. So again, go check the companies that make them. Make sure to actually follow that back, follow the money. And remember, one of those, you hope that if everything falls apart, that on Monday, that on Tuesday, the thing still works. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Sorry. And then, Dex, can you go over Haiti?
Yeah. So an American YouTube star, as they're calling this person, who is known as Your Fellow Arab, was kidnapped in Haiti while trying to meet with the gang leader Barbecue. So this person traveled from his home here in Atlanta, in Georgia, where I live, and allegedly had a meeting set up to do an interview with Barbecue, the infamous gang leader that's running the country down there in Haiti right now. And in the process, within 24 hours of him arriving in the country, now he had said that he had it set up where he was to be protected and brought to him to do the interview, et cetera, et cetera. But he also had maybe a risk of potentially being taken. Well, within 24 hours, he was taken, and now they're asking and have been holding up a $600,000 ransom for this YouTuber, who now they want to be paid. Apparently, they tried to pay $40,000, or has already been paid. That much of it was, and there's some questions about how that's working and how it's going, if it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. But apparently, he is being held somewhere near Port-au-Prince, and he is in a cage or cell, as it's been described. It says, quote, Arab has been kept in a cage in a place on the eastern outskirts of the capital, Port-au-Prince. So, interesting development there. Certainly one of those, I know journalistic opportunities abide, but at the same time, man, that's kind of scary to go into a country like that. Given the state of things, there's zero protection, and this is what would happen, and it did happen.
So why was he there in the first place? He was trying to go there to
He went there solely to have an interview with Barbecue. He flew there from Atlanta to go meet with Barbecue and interview him, probably for his YouTube channel.
Wow, if his YouTube, if he gets through all of this, he's probably gonna blow up for that. I mean, think about it. So did Barbecue kidnap him, or did he not get to Barbecue? Did he not even talk to Barbecue? Did somebody else there kind of set him up or something?
Yeah, I don't think it's been identified who has taken him. I don't see that part, but yeah, somebody has. And there's many gangs in that country. Obviously, Barbecue being the most famous one, or the leader of the most famous one, probably the one with the most power. But I don't know if he was behind it or if somebody else just did it, and that's just the way things happen there.
Yeah. So, and his name is just Arab. Oh, he has. I've never heard of this gentleman, but he has over 1 million subscribers here. So yeah, 24 hours living like a Rasta. This entire country's like a big scam. New videos emerging from Haiti are going viral 1 day ago. So this must have just happened. Oh, okay. That's somebody else covering what is happening. Wow. And I don't want to show that, but if you look up Your Fellow Arab, actually, I would do the exact same search I did. You Fellow Arab, maybe you'll get the same ones, but there's a video called New Videos Emerging from Haiti Are Going Viral. Just the couple seconds I just saw was nuts. So yeah, it's getting crazy. And he decided to go there. That's nuts. More to him, but it seems like he does videos like kind of just... maybe he was thinking he was going to turn it into a serious thing. And what if this was some big PR stunt or something, right? That wouldn't be good either. A lot of YouTubers do stuff like that, and they end up getting, caught lying. But this guy hopefully he gets home okay. All right, and let's see here. Thank you so much for Love of Country 1. Appreciate you. Thank you for your support tonight. Thank you, Desert Nurse 2297, Snow Leo 6028, Jenny Garcia 9002. Thank you so much for the super thanks on Critical Update. Appreciate that. And Sissy Jean, thank you so much. Schaefer Girl, Sweatinum Ministries. Domenico Lavara, and Carol. Thank you. Viv B, Gillian Mason, Greg Davis, Tammy Lee, S. True, and Carol again. Thank you so much for the support tonight. Love all of you guys. Make sure to go check out the mods over on marfooglenews.com/friends. Make sure to check out, of course, our latest Marfoogle News video. That would be yesterday's. Make sure to click right here. If you do, you will be directed to our latest Marfoogle News video. And then make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell. That is extremely important, especially now. And also you can sign up for email alerts. Our email alerts are extremely important now, and they're going to be extremely, extremely important the closer we get to November. So make sure to sign up for our email list. That is incredibly important. This is the same list that was I want to know or fill me in. Basically, if we know anything, if we absolutely know something is fact and we don't use it very often, that would be the system we would use. Also, it would be to tell you where we are and so on. Very rarely we use it. When we do use it, we try to make it a value. So go over and sign up, marfooglenews.com. And you can also sign up for alerts to get notifications when we go live. Dex, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.